I'm Julie Zenner along with Pat Kelly, and here's what's coming up on Almanac North.
A surprise announcement this morning. Minnesota 8th District Congressman Rick Nolan is retiring. We'll talk with Republican and Democratic officials about the hotly contested seat.
Minnesota communities, including Duluth, are learning about energy efficiency and sustainability in Germany that might translate to savings here at home.
And we'll have this week's top business stories, including the final Polymet mine public hearings.
It's all up next on Almanac North. Hello and welcome to Almanac North. Thanks for watching. Dennis is off this week, so I'm pleased to welcome Pat Kelly as my co-host, and it's good to have you back, Pat.
It's nice to be under the studio lights. This is the warmest I've been for a while. This has been a real winter, so good to get inside. We've got some good guests today, too. It's nice to be back. Thank you.
All right, and some big news made today, so let's get started.
Absolutely, Julie. Thanks. Congressman Rick Nolan announced this morning from Washington that he has decided not to run for re-election. The 8th District seat had been closely contested over the past 8 years, and with news of Nolan's retirement, it is likely to once again be a wide open race. Here with their thoughts on the retirement and what it means for the race is Justin Krych, Deputy Chair of the 8th District Republicans, and Jeff Anderson is Congressman Nolan's District Director and a former candidate for Congress. Thanks to both of you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
This is, as we said, kind of breaking news, a surprise announcement this morning. Jeff, unexpected. What can you tell us about why the congressman decided to retire? And well, he did say that he was running.
He did, and reconsidered in order to spend time with family. It was a surprise to staff, and while we understand his reasons, certainly a disappointment, and I think a loss for the people of the 8th Congressional District. The congressman was recognized as one of the most effective members of Congress, and knows how to maneuver the levers of government to get things done for working families here in the 8th, and I think that'll be missed.
Mm-hmm. Did this have anything to do with the caucuses and maybe news coming out of that he could be facing some pretty strong challenges even in the primary?
No, the congressman made this decision before the precinct caucus, and he's pleased with the turnout in the precinct caucus, and certainly didn't shy away from any sort of fight, whether that be in the party or on the ballot in November against Commissioner Stauber. Mm-hmm. But again, sad news for the district. I think we're losing a progressive champion for working men and women, someone who led the charge to really fight for our iron mining industry back when it was under attack with unfair tariffs and trade agreements. I think there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people that are working today in large part due to the efforts of the congressman and his effectiveness in Washington.
Mm-hmm. Justin, how much of a shakeup is this from your perspective at this stage of the game?
Well, I mean, certainly we were very excited about our prospects heading into this coming election year with our candidate that we have in Pete Stauber. Just a wonderful individual, very strong candidate. I would easily say probably the strongest candidate out of the last three that we've run, and of course one of those was successful in unseating a multi-year incumbent. And so Pete's resume is very long. And I think that this increases our chances and our prospects from the standpoint that I don't think that the DFLers that are going to be vying for this endorsement are going to abide by that endorsement. I think this is going to go all the way to a primary fight all the way into the fall, which is going to require some more attention, energy, and expenditures on their part. And I think that that bodes very well for us.
Mm-hmm.
This is Stauber, obviously has the inside track at this point. Does he feel like he's the odds-on favorite to win the nomination for this seat?
Well, Stuart Mills had said that he wasn't interested in running during this election cycle like he had the previous two, with Congressman Nolan announcing his retirement. I know that Stewart is reconsidering whether or not he wants to be a part of this contest again. Either way, you know, I would like our chances with either Pete or Stewart. I think that Pete obviously is the front runner at this particular point, and I'm just very excited about his prospects. We're going to have a very expensive congressional race. $17 million was spent this last time around, with this seat being an open seat on both sides now. I think that the expenditures could easily top $20 million.
Jeff, already this afternoon there was a lot of scuttlebutt and posturing as people were kind of dipping their toe in a little bit to see if there was any interest in them taking this position. What are you hearing? Who do you see as the folks on the DFL side who might line up and have an interest?
Sure, I think we have a deep bench. We have many qualified individuals who have served in elective office or currently serve in elective office. So I'm not going to name names or speculate, but I'm quite confident that we'll have a lively discussion going forward in our party, as it appears the Republicans will as well, with Mr. Mills showing some interest in the race. But I'm confident again that we'll have some very qualified candidates who have a proven track record of electability.
This was a seat that you yourself had sought at one point. Are you interested?
I'll be taking some time to consider. It's a big decision, and working for Congressman Nolan, I've had a front row seat to, I said earlier today, it was like a PhD course, watching the congressman work and get things done. And that would be exciting to carry on, but it's a big decision, so we'll be making some thinking hard about it.
Mm-hmm.
Justin, who else? You mentioned Mr. Stauber and Mr. Mills. Stauber had an interesting interview today with his extensive hockey career.
Mm-hmm.
He said he assumed that that Nolan would be running, and it's like a team preparing in the playoffs for that team you know you're going to be facing. You're scouting them out, you're getting their strengths, their weaknesses, and then all of a sudden the Seeds are upset and he's not there. You're not facing that opponent next time. So that was his parallel. All of a sudden he's got all kinds of people that his strategists, you included, I imagine, are looking at. What are the issues that you tend to be focusing on as the season progresses?
We have plenty of time to adjust to whoever the candidate's going to be on the other side between now and Election Day. And, you know, my personal advice for the DFL, not that they ever take advice from me, but they better get on the right side of this mining issue in northeastern Minnesota. This is their Achilles heel. We've seen some public hearings, and the turnout at the public hearings up on the Iron Range. The people on the Iron Range are overwhelmingly in favor of copper nickel mining, done safely, which is something that is proven can be done. And we've always been on the right side of the mining issue. We've always been on the right side of all of the working people in northeastern Minnesota. I think that that's come through very strongly over the last 3 election cycles. And obviously some of the candidates that I think potentially get into the mix on the DFL side are not going to be on the right side of that mining issue. It's going to be a big distraction for whoever the eventual candidate is going to be.
How much of an issue is that in the DFL party right now? Because Congressman Nolan was he was very supportive of mining.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an issue that we have a big tent in the DFL party, and there are lively discussions that occur. Congressman Nolan was an outspoken supporter of these mining projects if they can be done safely, if they can navigate a regulatory process, and PolyMet is a project that's shown that it can. And he's been supportive of that, as have a number of other DFL leaders. So I wouldn't say that the Republicans have some sort of reason to say they're the only party that supports mining and workers on the Iron Range.
Will Congressman Nolan endorse a candidate? Does he have anybody in mind at this point? That must have been part of his decision maybe not to run again, is that he saw somebody in line that would be perfect for the job.
Well, I think you'd have to ask him that question. I'm not going to speculate, but there'll be plenty of time, and we'll see who emerges and who's out there running. The congressman feels very confident that we can keep this seat. This is an important seat if Democrats want to take back the U.S. House of Representatives. And so, as I said, we have a strong bench. I feel pretty confident.
Mm-hmm. Do you anticipate that a lot of money is going to be thrown into this race from outside of the region now that that spotlight is being placed on Minnesota?
Well, I mean, I think that that's inevitable, and there certainly was a lot of outside money that poured in over the last 3 election cycles. This is going to be the most competitive race in the entire country. It was considered to be in the top 3 the last time around. It's going to be the most competitive race in the country this time around. I think the spending is easily going to be an 8-figure dollar amount that easily tops $20 million or more. It's going to take a lot of money to get the message out to the voters. And of course, it's a very unique media market that we have here in the 8th Congressional District. You have the Duluth market. You also have to touch on the western side a little bit, coming out of the Fargo-Moorhead area. And of course, you have the metro news media market as well, too, that you have to play to because of the districts in the southern end. And so it is going to be very expensive. It's a very, very economically diverse part of our state. There's a lot of people that are needing to be heard based on the issues that are important to them in their particular part of the congressional district. And I'm confident that our candidate's going to be able to get out a winning message.
What are those issues that Republicans are going to be going to the polls specifically for this year? And then after that, what are the issues that are motivating Democrats this time?
Well, obviously, you know, people in northeastern Minnesota want to work, and I've said that on this show before. They want to work, they want to enjoy their way of life that they've become accustomed to. They want to do so responsibly. And I think whenever they feel like the government and other political forces are getting involved with altering their way of life or their economic industries that are important to them in their particular part of the state, I mean, those are issues that people vote on. Some of these issues that come to the forefront that the media likes to sensationalize a little bit more, they're really not the issues that people go and vote on for the most part. But the mining issue is incredibly important. I know that you know, issues that relate to our country's finances. I mean, the people in northeastern Minnesota are known for their fiscal responsibility. I know that they want a government that is limited in its size and scope, and a government that manages its finances responsibly as well.
Democrats are going to go to the polls for many of the same reasons. Job creation and economic development are obviously very important, but protecting Social Security and Medicare, programs that our friends on the other side call entitlements, they're earned benefits. People start paying in the minute they enter the workforce. But we also want to talk about taxation. The tax plan that was passed, everybody's feeling good. They have a few extra dollars in their pocket, but the millionaires and billionaires and the Wall Street elite have received benefits from that tax package that allows them to buy a fleet of Mercedes, while the rest of us can maybe afford a hubcap. Those are issues that are important to voters in the 8th District, and I think that we'll be seeing when people turn out at the polls in November.
Mm-hmm. Been a lot of women's marches, the Me Too movement going on right now. An advantage perhaps for the Democrats to put a woman up for the race this time around?
Hey, there's a lot of qualified women that are here in the 8th Congressional District, many who hold elective office right now, so that's certainly a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
But Emily Larson would be one of them,
no.
but she has said she's not interested in running. We'll see. There's, as you said, a long way to go.
Be the wise one.
Jeff Anderson, Justin Krych, thank you very much
for
your input on this news-breaking day on Congressman Rick Nolan's decision not to run for re-election.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our sister city, Zegan, is just over 100,000. They are in one of the most green areas of Germany, and they talk about that a lot.
It's a city of ore mining. There have been 600 mines in Zegan. It's now over since 50 years. And now there are a lot of metalworking industry and machine engineering.
The thing that's interesting is that Zegan and Germany, they really started with renewables, and they really started with the source of energy.
Where they are ahead of us in a lot of respects is on energy efficiency. And part of this is driven by the price. They don't really have a choice. The typical German family spends about as much in energy costs as a typical Minnesotan family. But the price of energy for the typical German family is about 2.5 to 3 times higher. So they have gone above and beyond in ensuring that buildings are efficient.
Duluth is one of 5 Minnesota communities taking part in the Climate Smart initiative. The University of Minnesota-led effort has paired 5 municipalities with leading German sustainable cities. The Minnesota communities have seen firsthand what their cohort cities have accomplished and have brought home some of those ideas. Well, joining us now is Rolf Weberg, Executive Director of the Natural Resources Research Institute, and Eric Singsaas is the NRRI's Director of Wood Products and Bioeconomy. And welcome. Thanks to both of you for being here.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
Thank you.
Rolf, how did this connection with Germany get started?
Well, in 2011, Dr. Sabine Engel, who is now with the Institute in the Environment, who's part of the University of Minnesota, instituted a Berlin energy seminar where there was a Minnesota delegation that went there to learn about what Germany had done, but also more importantly, what kinds of policy changes were necessary to allow it to happen to make the transition from fossil fuels to a renewable energy economy. Mm-hmm. And in 2016, herself, myself, a number of other people said, we should have another aspect to this. What can we do to start implementing some of these things we're seeing and teaming up our cities here in Minnesota with cities in Germany? And what happened is that's what birthed, if you will, the whole idea of this Climate Smart Municipalities exercise.
Mm-hmm. And how was Duluth chosen to participate?
Well, Duluth was one of many cities around the state that was asked to put an application in for this. And what it was a combination of Minnesota working with North Rhine-Westphalia, which is kind of the California of Germany. It's the westernmost state. Very industrial, a lot of energy utilization, so it really had a lot to do with our state of Minnesota. So these states, rather the cities in Minnesota, applied for this, and INE sorted through them, and Duluth came out as one of the key cities that qualified for this. And of course, NRI was, of course, rooting for Duluth, but we felt very strongly this city has some really interesting opportunities to take advantage of with our topography, our water, our energy, and our industry. They gave a very, very interesting combination to onboard some of these learnings.
The thing I noticed, just looking at the two regions, ours and Nord Rhine-Westphalia, is that they both, the Ruhrgebiet, that area was known as the land of steel and coal.
Yes.
And that's, that sounds a lot like northern Minnesota. Is that part of what made this parallel relationship profitable, hopefully, for you, Eric? I mean, for NRRI and your efforts?
Yes, the city of Zeeton, which is paired with Duluth, is known as a rural or mining area. They're associated, as you said, with both the coal and the steel industry in Germany. And there's a number of heavy industries and who are seeing the impact or the opportunity really driven by this energy transition that they're going through.
Mm-hmm. So is it still heavily dependent on steel and coal there, or is that really something, just a leftover image of what that region used to be? Has it grown from that over the decades?
That industry is decreasing. They do a lot of mining for lignite coal, which is decreasing. Mm-hmm. Their steel industry has shifted around, and that has changed as well. But they're moving on to a lot more greener types of industries, from sustainable energy building, building sustainably, things like that. They're leading the world in how to store a lot of energy. In fact, when you plug in your car at home, that's part of the energy grid at night for storage. So they've done some very, very novel, innovative ideas of how to handle renewable energy in their grid. Mm-hmm.
Now, Eric, you have visited Germany through this initiative. Any aha moments along the way where you said, wow, that is so cool, we need to bring that idea back home and give it a shot here?
Yeah, I was really impressed with the way that they engage with the community and really at all levels. They had programs for elementary school students, they had programs for people, the general public, for retired people, to get them to understand the importance of this energy transition and understand what it does for their community and how it makes their communities a good place. They're also engaging with the universities. We had research meetings with a couple of the technical universities, and they are doing research projects, always looking for how do we improve this, how do we reduce waste, how do we make this better. and all of those are opportunities for research, but then there are opportunities then that eventually spin them out and into new industry and job creation for those regions.
Mm-hmm.
I hear something fascinating there, and I'm trying to figure out where the tendrils are that connect, the high-minded goals, the initiatives, the plans, the ideal situations with the grassroots. I mean, we're buying our LED lights. We have bicycle lanes. We reduce, reuse, and recycle. But this, particularly to talk about education. Mm-hmm. And before the show, we were talking about this biopark, which at first glance sounds like something out of a Simpsons cartoon. I'm not sure what's coming out of that biopark. But would you explain a little bit more about those tendrils, where who initiates the educational initiatives and what the biopark is?
Well, the biopark concept originated with a group of committed citizens. So that was in a town of about 7,000 residents. Mm-hmm. There's really about a dozen people, including the mayor of the town, who really wanted to push for this. And they engaged a number of industry players and a professor from the local university to develop this biopark. It has solar panels. It has some of the new very tall wind towers, 200-meter tall wind towers. There's processing of cow manure for bioenergy. There's processing of yard waste, kitchen waste for bioenergy as well. And so everything is integrated in there. And it also becomes a site where citizens come. They're now doing their solid waste sorting there. And it's beginning to grow as a place where people come and they see it every day.
Mm-hmm. Rolf, talk a little bit about NRRI's role. There's a lot of renewable energy research, for example, that you're doing here in our area. Are there nuggets there that they're really interested in that could maybe bring something to them as well as us getting something from
Yes, I guess there's two focal points. One is, what can we do to help the team here in Duluth? You got Jim Benning leading a group of people, Eric Bjorkeland and Alex Jackson, who are really driving a three-pronged attack here in Duluth. How can we do a better job with our utilities, be more efficient? How can we reduce our consumption in our buildings? And you can see some of this with the onboarding of our renewables, with some of the things we see at like the Hartley Nature Preserve with the solar there. So they're pushing there, and we're assisting them where necessary, and helping our colleagues at the University of Minnesota Duluth assisting the city. So that's one part of it. But what we're most excited about, and what I just sent Eric and his colleague Don Fosnacht to Metabolon, which is a consortium between the University of Cologne, which is an applied university, and basically a dump that has a research facility which is really looking very closely at what can they do with a dump, literally, to understand how to process the water to make it clean, but in the process of doing that, generate energy products. How can you take the biogas that comes out of that and make it clean so you can actually use it in an engine without eating it up because of the sulfuric acid that's generated from H2S? How can they take this, and as Eric pointed out, have an integrated solution to using our resources, whether it's waste or starting materials, and get the most out of it? And that's the sustainability throughout the system is what the Germans have really, really excelled at, thinking about what's an integrated solution for onboarding renewable energy and a sustainable energy future. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing that we're excited about. And Eric was just there at Metabolon, and he had a number of things that he and Don came back and wouldn't stop talking for about 3 hours. So we've got a lot of excitement.
We don't have
here.
3 hours, but share some of your excitement from that.
We looked at a number of these projects, and there are way too many to share right here. But what we realized when we sat down with teams of researchers is they had certain areas of expertise where they knew what they were doing, and they had certain things really far advanced. And we have certain areas of expertise, and they really mesh with each other very nicely, where when we sat down and we came up with some new concepts, new ideas where we can really push this renewable energy generation forward while reducing or removing anything that would be considered a waste and actually converting it into an asset. And we have certain expertise, particularly in minerals and mineral processing, that will impact what they're doing with the bioenergy on the other side. So there are some natural collaborations that are arising out of this.
Since a follow-up interview would be
I
necessary.
think so. It looks like we're out of time, but thank you so much. It sounds very interesting, and I'm sure a lot of great things will come out of the relationship.
We're excited.
Thanks for coming in and talking about it.
Rolf, Eric,
Excellent.
thanks.
Thank you.
It's time now for the business news from the editors at Business North. The final public hearing on Polymet's proposed non-ferrous mine was more subdued than previous sessions had been. Enthusiasm and angst were dampened when supporters and opponents were searched and told to forfeit their signs and banners. 4 draft permits were set for review at Thursday's Duluth session and 1 held Wednesday in Aurora. Regulators solicited new scientific information, although most of the testimony involved emotional pleas for or against non-ferrous mining. Written comment on the company's permit to mine and the air, water, and wetland permits may be submitted into March.
The regional financial services market will expand again this summer. North Shore Federal Credit Union, with several offices along the shore, announced a plan to expand into Duluth. Its new branch will open this June in the Endy complex on London Road. The company's president said the credit union already has a strong membership in Duluth, which it hopes to better serve with the added location.
The annual Joel Leibovitz Entrepreneurial Success Awards are being discontinued. The UMD Center for Economic Development, which sponsors the awards, said they are no longer needed. Opportunities for entrepreneurs to receive support and recognition have improved in tandem with business and technology, the group said. Center Director Elaine Hansen said the time is right to transition away from an awards program to other ways the group can help regional entrepreneurs. Joel Leibovitz himself, now retired, said he never imagined the program would continue for 25 years. For more on these and other stories, visit businessnorth.com.
And if you'd like to comment on our show, call now, dial 218-788-2849 to leave a message, or send an email to almanacnorth@wdse.org, and visit the WDSE website for our program schedule, updates on our local shows, and upcoming events here at the station. And Pat, it is always good to see you. Thanks for being here tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Julie. They always make us feel real welcome here. Denny, thanks for taking the time off. Happy to sit in for a week here.
Well, it's good to sit here with a pro for a change, right?
Oh, no.
Sorry, Denny. For Pat Kelly and the crew here at WDSE, I'm Julie Zenner. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.